Welcome to the Magdalene Voices, giving voice to those silenced for centuries through sacred conversations with beautiful, illuminating souls. I'm your host, spiritual business coach, mentor, catalyst, and facilitator, Maria Estella. I serve spiritual entrepreneurs, Magdalene's Rising, and radiant beings just like you with the expansion and growth of yourself and your business, aligning you with your deep inner truth, bringing to life that which you are here to birth, and supporting you in expressing your soul's divine purpose through your being and your doing in this lifetime. If you haven't already, I highly encourage you to join my newsletter to stay connected and updated. You can do so on my website, mariaestella.com, where you can also find previous episodes and their show notes. And if you have ever wondered about your Magdalene connection and calling, and whether you are a Magdalene, I invite you to download the free Magdalene blueprint I've created for you. Go to mariaestella.com/AYM to get it. Finally, there's now only 1 week left if you want to take advantage of the early bird bonus for the Magdalene Rising Mastermind 2019, which includes 3 one-on-one sessions with me, special pricing, and paying in installment options. Go to mariaestella.com/mastermind for all info and reach out if you've got a question. With that out of the way, here is the final episode of the Magdalene Voices for 2018. Hello, Radiant One, and welcome to this final episode of the Magdalene Voices for 2018. This episode is going to be about, because we're in the last of 2018. So this episode is going to be about accomplishments, because there's so much reviewing going on currently. People are, maybe you are, I know I am, going through your year. And something that, of course, is near and dear to my heart is the application of love into anything. And so both when it comes to reviewing your year for 2018, but especially if you are preparing yourself for 2019, and if you got big dreams, whether it be for 2018 or just in general, I want to hopefully inspire you or empower you to see how focusing on your accomplishments can be such a powerful, it can catalyze you in ways that you hadn't even dreamed of or imagined. Because there seems to be this tendency to always focus on the things that we need to do or have to do or want to do, the things that are still to be done. And so not a lot of emphasis is put on what we've actually achieved, what we've actually accomplished, how we've succeeded. Because once it's done and it seems to be done and dusted, then it's just left behind, and then we're on to the next thing. And I want to hopefully with this episode inspire you to see just how incredible, magnificent, amazing, incredible, powerful, wonderful that you are. And that goes whether or not you have a business or not. Of course, me being a soul-driven, heart-based entrepreneur, spiritual entrepreneur, working with those people as well, Magdalene's Rising, my focus is of course on that. But even if you're in a job or if you're, a stay-at-home mom, this choosing to focus on your accomplishments works no matter what you do, is what I'm trying to say. Before I dive into it, there is one thing that I would love from you, and that is if you are a regular listener, or if you're someone who, comes and listens from time to time or watches, and you enjoy the shows, I would love, as a gift from you, to receive a review from you on iTunes. Leaving a review on iTunes will allow the message and the energy and the love of this podcast and show to be shared on it allows it to be spread further and wider. And so that's what, if you're someone who enjoys listening in, that's something that I would love to receive from you as your gift to me this year. You can do so. I'm going to leave in the description. I'm going to leave a link to the iTunes page. So I'm making it as simple as possible. And I don't need for you to, write a full novel. It can be just a few words about your experience and why it is that you choose to be here and what it is that you enjoy about the show. That will also help me in moving forward into 2018, knowing, how I can be of even more service to you and to those who are called into our midst. Good. So now that is out of the way, let's go back to accomplishments. What I really want to inspire you to do, and this is something that has come up for me, of course, personally, because it's a journey that I have gone through as I have done the work of clearing my mind and my being, flipping my mindset from fear to love is what I call it. And I also see it in the work that I do with people, whether it be, in one-on-ones or in groups or my upcoming mastermind. I see how flipping the narrative, flipping the mindset, how powerful that really is. And at first, there seems to be this resistance towards it because we've been conditioned to never thinking that we're enough, never thinking that what we have is enough, never thinking that we can do enough or be enough, when the truth of the matter is that you are, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you are enough and you have enough and you are doing enough in this world. And I understand that with that comes there can be this, resistance or this disbelief of what are you talking about? And I understand that because that's where I was at. It was such a, it was so heavily ingrained in me that I was never enough, that I would never be doing enough, that I would never achieve anything, that I would never reach my goals. That the idea that starting to feel satisfied, starting to acknowledging myself for every single little tiny thing that I did, the idea that that was what was going to support me and propel me forward was simply too far out for me to even believe in. So if that's where you're at, I completely understand it. But if you're here, I also think that you've tasted the drops of love. You've tasted the waters of love that rises and rushes within you, and so there's a part of you that feel called and feel in resonance with this, and you may not know just exactly how to do that, but don't worry. I have you covered in this episode. I'm going to go through some things that you can do in order for you to implement that in your life and have it expand in your life. So like I said, it's about flipping the narrative, because I know that you're, whether or not, like I said, whether or not you have a business, you're a heart-based, soul-driven human being. You are someone who's connected and most likely spiritual in one form or another, whether you're completely like I am, the lid's off, or whether it's just for you and your personal private practice. That's fine. But you are someone who's connected and you have a desire to be of service. And having this desire or this calling to being of service to others, then constantly not feeling as though you're enough, constantly pushing yourself or forcing yourself or punishing yourself for not doing, that's really, that doesn't serve anyone. And if that's where you're coming from, then your service is out of it's out of resonance. There's a discord. There's an energetic unalignment that has to be corrected, and that comes from within. So it's within you to create that, because I see it as when you receive your awakening, or when you begin to awaken, when you begin to notice that there is another way, and that there's another way that you would like to be following, a path that you would like to be walking, then in that calling or awakening lies the dissolving of everything that is out of accord with that is out of resonance with that. And so this acknowledging yourself for your accomplishments in terms of what you're doing for your big dreams is simply just a part of it. And what happens when you do, again, I want to say that in terms of big dreams, I mentioned this in the beginning, that can be anything. If you're an entrepreneur, it can be, if you want to create an app or write a book, create a new product or signature program. It can be doing a retreat, or finding a new location for your business, maybe even having a location for your business, starting to do VIP days or in-house retreats, creating memberships. It can be a whole lot of things. As a soulful, heart-based entrepreneur, that can be a whole lot of different things. So you have these big dreams and you have something that is calling you. Well, the way, quote unquote, to get, you probably know what steps to take, but with the focus on your accomplishments, and I think this is the really, really big part and big key, is you are able to do that with the deepest sense of content, with the deepest sense of satisfaction, with excitement and joy, rather than fear or worry or nervousness or being afraid or scared, being frustrated, irritated. You can do that. And I think that the key to that, and of course you could, I would say probably, I know that what I am talking about is probably not something that you hear within most business coaches, or in my well, probably from spiritual business coaches you would hear it, but in the world of physical matter, in the world of online businesses or marketing or PR promotion or selling, you won't hear words like satisfaction or content or excitement being part of it. But to me, they're crucial, because if you have a business, and if I have a business, which I do, and you want that to be your life, wouldn't you want that to be something that you were proud of, excited about, satisfied about? And when I say this, so I'm not suggesting that you don't have big dreams. I'm not suggesting that you don't have goals and things that you want to accomplish or achieve. I'm just suggesting that you start acknowledging yourself fully and completely for everything that you do and everything that you are, even the tiniest thing that may seem unimportant or silly even. Because as you do that, when you begin to do that, you insist on love being the driver of your life and your business. Again, this, if you're not someone who's an entrepreneur, take what I'm sharing and apply it into your own life, because this really applies into no matter who you are, no matter what you do. The implementation of a love-based mindset, or the implementation of a love-based mindset is what is going to bring you the deepest level of satisfaction that you have probably ever experienced. And if you're someone who's starting out in that area, it can be a daunting task, because there might be, a shit ton of things that are quote unquote needing to be worked at. But here's the thing: you are never going to be out of time. You're never going to be too late. There's always going to be enough. So again, that's where you again focus on love, and then start in just one area, one corner, and then have it expand from there. Because when you do that, when you choose to focus on that, the love parts, the joy, the excitement, the satisfaction, you expand love, and in that expansion you leave no room for fear. And so I'm not saying this as an invitation for you to spiritually bypass if you have shit coming up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about ignoring or suppressing feelings. I'm not talking about ignoring or suppressing things that come up for you to clear them. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that you choose to actively focus on the achievements and your accomplishments, rather than on what's left, so that you can expand from there. And I may sound far out, because it's such a if I had told myself this 10 years ago, I would have thought I was batshit crazy. It would have been so far out. But to now know that that's the state that I live in. And I've mentioned this before. I don't have the perfect life. I don't live the place that I want to live yet. I don't have the amount of clients that I want to have yet. I am not as far out, as in wide out as I want to be yet. But I have satisfaction and content and fulfillment in a way that I never knew was possible, with you not having all of the things that you would like to have in your life. And I understand now that that is the way that I'm calling those things in, because I am lifting the veil so that I am able to see, and I'm able to be, and I'm able to do from that space. And that is truly, truly the place that I want to create from. That's the place I want to do from. It's the place that I want to be in always. And so that's how I know it's possible. The idea of excitement is something that I bring up with my clients in our sessions, in our one-on-one sessions, is often something that I bring up. And at first, when they hear it, it's when I ask them, how, on a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you about your life and your business? And for some, it's like excitement. What does excitement have to do with my business or it has everything to do with it. Because if you're not excited about getting up every day and going into your business, working with your clients, doing the things that needs to be done, then why are you doing it? If there's no excitement, if there's no satisfaction, who are you being run by? Who's really the driver of your life and your business? And that can be like peeling it can be like the ripping off of a Band-Aid at first, but that's the work that's there to be done. If you have an infected sore, covering it up will not help it heal. You have to air it out. It has to be cleaned and washed, and then it has to have air so that it can heal, and really be nurtured and brought back to life. So if you're someone who on us, if this question was for you, because I'm not sure who this was for, but if this question was for you on a scale from 1 to 10, how excited am I in my business or in my life or in both? And if you're not happy about the answer that you hear, then my invitation to you is to ask yourself, what does excite me? Like, what does excite you? What excites you? And then start by doing that. For me personally, it can be anything. Dancing can be one thing. It can be if it's reading a book. For me personally, I love doing CrossFit by myself. I love working out. I love using my body. I also love to walk barefoot on the ground, being nurtured by that. I love being with my friends and having joy in my life, and having deep conversations. I love supporting my clients. I love creating beautiful graphics, and so I do that. I actually do love shooting these episodes. And as you know, probably by now, I've also started a second podcast called Spiritual Business with Maria Estella. And a year and a half ago, I never imagined that I would be doing a podcast and being quote unquote in your face every week. But I actually love that as well. So find what excites you. Maybe it's going roller skating or sunbathing or lying in the, go swimming in the ocean. Maybe it is knitting or crocheting. Maybe it's, beading. Maybe it whatever it is that excites you, bring that into your life and do it more and more. And it doesn't have to be necessarily directly related to your business. I've had clients where I asked them this question and they were like, what? And then as soon as they started they realized that they hadn't been seeing their friends in a very long time, and they'd been saying no to a lot of things. They hadn't been taking care of themselves. They hadn't been nurturing or nourishing themselves in the right way. And once they began doing that, it had a major impact on their energy and thus on their business. So everything is connected. To come back to the accomplishments, I'm hoping that I'm making it clear by now that that by focusing on your accomplishments, you actually there is this rise of energy that compels you. I don't know if that's the right word, but the idea is that because sometimes when we have a big dream, when something seems very far out, the distance between where we're at right now and the goal itself can seem so far that it can become a deterrent. And so that is why it's so important for you to focus on the every step that you take, on the accomplishments that you do to get there. Because if you keep pushing your satisfaction, if you keep saying, oh, when I get to this point, then I'll be celebrating, or then I'll be acknowledging myself, or then I will X, Y, and Z, then you won't ever, I'm not going to say that you won't get there. You probably will get there, but the question is, at what cost? Like, what is it going to cost you to get there? And wouldn't you rather want to get there being fully happy, joy-filled, satisfied, content, excited, thrilled, and just, vibrating within your entire being? Or do you want to push yourself across the finish line and then just, and then you're going to take a vacation and then it's right back to the next thing? This is your life. This is your life, and you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And being a spirit, my core premise is that you and we're love. You're love in the purest form. You're an extension of source. And love expands. It can't help but expand. So you are always going to be filled with creative ideas, with big dreams or vision. There's always going to be something else, because you are continually expanding from a space of love. So I don't think that you ever necessarily, quote unquote, get there. It's not like you've arrived and then you'll just be set. There's always going to be, when you come from a space of love, there's always going to be a new way of being of service, or a different way of being service. There's always going to be more that you want to share. And what I have realized or discovered within myself is that the more that you share, the more that you create, the more your heart grows, and the more you want to be of service, the more you want to create, the more you want to share. And so it's an endless, infinite source that you belong to, and that you have always belonged to, and that you will always belong to. And the idea of that source is not for it to be depressing or frustrating or irritating. Of course, there's going to be times in our lives where things are irritating or frustrating, but if you come from a space of love, of achieving, of accomplishing, of acknowledging, of really acknowledging yourself for everything that you are and everything that you do, those frustration or irritations or challenges and obstacles that you have, they become just that. they become obstacles and challenges, but they're not, we begin to see them as part of your support. You begin to see them as part of your expansion, as part of your growth, as part of your strengthening, rather than have come from what I call the victim mindset of, why is this happening to me, and this is so not right, and I'm not deserving of this, and I'm doing all this. So it's not from a victim mode. It's actually from the, oh, okay, which there are things that suck, but it doesn't pull you down. It doesn't, pull you down into depression. It doesn't give you hours in bed or days in bed, or, even minutes where you're just like, you can't deal with it. So it's, they become your life becomes a journey. It becomes an expansion, and it becomes a growth, and you are able to begin take on more and more, meaning that when I say more and more, I mean in the form of your whatever challenges that rises, whatever obstacle seems to be placed before your feet. They, like I said, become part of the journey, and you understand that these are not tests. It's not to see if you're good enough or have come far enough. They're meant to strengthen you. And yes, at times you will fail, and failure is part of learning. So there's nothing wrong with failure unless you fail and then you don't learn from it. And of course, there are times when we have to learn it again, and so it comes back into your life, and then you'll see if you're ready to move through it. And sometimes you are, and sometimes you're not. I'm just checking to see that I have gone through everything that I wanted to go through. So in terms of your big dreams, it's about bridging the, with acknowledgement and focusing on your accomplishments rather than lack, you're actually focusing, and that's another thing. It's the abundance and lack mentality. So do you choose to focus on the abundance of everything that you have and everything that you've accomplished, or do you choose to focus on the lack? Focusing on the abundance of what you have and on the achievements, your achievements and your accomplishments, and acknowledging that doesn't mean that there's not still things to be done. You know that. It just means that rather than allowing yourself to be pulled down by the lack of what you still have to do, you actually allow yourself to be lifted up by the abundance and by the joy of what you have done so far. Again, that doesn't mean that there's not still things to be done. That is what I had for you in this last episode of 2018. So I want to inspire you to, as you begin doing your review of 2018 and your planning of 2019, I want you to have in mind, how can you acknowledge yourself for all of the magnificent, amazing things that you have accomplished and achieved in 2018, and how can those things be a foundation and a propeller, a catalyst for your 2019. I want to end by saying that it has been my deepest joy. It's such an honor for me to be allowed to come into your ears on a weekly basis, whether it be with a guest or just me. I want to thank you for allowing me into your space. It's not something that I take for granted, and I am deeply grateful for being allowed to serve you. Going into the holidays, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Kwanzaa, Glædelig Jul if you're Danish, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. From my heart to yours, I love you and thank you for having been part of my journey for 2018. I look forward to coming back in 2019 and sharing much, much more with you. Thank you. I love you. That is what I had for you in today's episode of the Magdalene Voices. For all of the deeds and the details, find the show notes on my website, mariastella.com. Know that I would love to hear how it resonated with you and what you got from it. So tag me on Instagram or leave me a comment on either my website or YouTube. Finally, if it served you, please take a moment to share it with a friend or on social media. God bless.